radiological hazards or hydrometeorological hazards. Then we then talk about exposure. So what's exposure? It's the elements at risk from those natural hazards. And so we need to understand where they are and what are the characteristics of those elements at risk. Very closely associated with exposure is vulnerability. And that is trying to understand how those elements at risk might respond to those events. So what we can do then is integrate all of that information together and quantify the impacts. So we can start to understand how the proportion of damage, the quantity of damage to buildings and infrastructure, the economic losses associated with those events, and in some cases we can get a sense of the casualties and the different types of casualties that we're likely to experience. The next part of the presentation is a bit of an overview of some work that Geoscience Australia has done with our Government of Philippines partners. And it's work that was actually triggered from the passage of Typhoon Ondoy. And it's actually an interesting coincidence that today is the 6th anniversary of the passage of Typhoon Ondoy over the Philippines. So one of the first things that was done as part of this project was to collect some new information that had never been collected before in the Greater Metro Manila area. And this was very high resolution elevation and surface data from a technology called LiDAR. LiDAR is a technology with a sensor on board an aircraft, essentially scans the ground as the aircraft is flying along, and the result is very, very detailed, highly accurate, three-dimensional terrain and surface data. And so there's some details about the sort of quantity of information that was collected in that work. And this was then the basis for undertaking hazard modelling. There's just an example of how we can visualise Manila through the use of this data. So the data was fundamental as an input to modelling 3 hazards: severe wind from tropical cyclone, riverine flooding, inundation, and earthquake ground shaking. And so for severe wind, it's important to understand how wind flows over different types of terrain and how different surface features might change the flow. So the LiDAR was very important for that work. And we can see outputs such as maps of the severe wind field. Similarly, the way that floodwaters move through areas is very much influenced by the shape of the terrain. And so from the work, we can also derive models of flood inundation. And similarly, with earthquake information, there's the terrain is somewhat influences the way that energy is propagated through the earth, and so this work resulted also in some hazard maps. And through the combination of a LiDAR and other spatial information provided by local governments and national government, we were then able to characterise the exposure, that is the buildings and the population across the Greater Metro Manila area. And that's just an example of the sort of outputs that we have. So we were able to quantify the risk from those hazards and produce a number of information products. So that information then serves as a lifeline tool for helping to save lives, protect investments and economic gains, and to protect livelihoods. But how do we do that? It can be done through a number of ways. It's through better land use planning, so that we're not building in areas that are highly hazard prone. We strengthen critical infrastructure and buildings so that they're able to withstand all of the effects. For informing better preparation and response, so that when an event comes up, the response is more effective. And for investing in recovery and mitigation. So we can use the data for all those things, but particularly when we use it for mitigating and preparing, we're actually participating in reducing the risk from disasters. But disaster and risk information is really effective when it's credible, it's based on science, it's reliable, we can rely on it for making decisions. It's fit for purpose, it's not being used for something else. It's discoverable. we can find that information and know that it's there and it's accessible, we can actually get to the information and start to use it. It's usable, it's in a format that's going to be suitable. Digital formats are very important in that regard. And it's used appropriately, so it's not misused. And okay, so that's essentially my 7 minutes. So thank you very much again for the opportunity, and welcome any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I'd like to open the floor, if you can just stay there for a bit. Would anyone like to comment or maybe ask a question? You know, we have only very little time between our speakers, so let's use this time wisely. Please don't be shy. Colleen, I know you have a question. Or maybe just have a comment.
Oh, God. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Colleen from PDRF. I'll be speaking later, and I just want to say that the data that, sir, you've presented, we use it daily to help us make decisions. So that's just a how. You gave us a how it works, and we're taking that data and we're helping become more resilient with it. So I thank you for the generous support for helping mapping Metro Manila.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? No? Matthew, maybe you can use the last remaining minutes of your time to add something else that you forgot. Something that we should all know and take to heart. What would your key takeaway be for all of us?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I think the key takeaway is that information used in the right way is such a powerful tool for gaining insights into our world that perhaps we didn't have before we'd done this sort of work. This information can tell us a lot, and I think it's worth thinking about how we can explore its utility. There's lots of different ways that this information that can be used by lots of different people in lots of different disciplines. So I think it provides some tremendous opportunities, and certainly very much encourage the exploration and utility of the information that's been derived through this work and through other work that our Government of Philippines partners have undertaken as well.
Good morning. I am Father Ding Coronel of the PPCRB Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting. I would like to thank you. Last night, we had a gathering of scientists in order to celebrate the 150 years of the Manila Observatory. So we were with PBOX and some of the geologists whom you collaborated with in the preparation for the West Valley Fault Line, and the Australian Aid Geoscience PBOX report, which will help us in the great work of disaster risk reduction with regards to earthquake preparation. So I would like to commend and thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Our pleasure.
And one more question.
Hi, my name is Arissa Ona. I'm but a humble intern at a local design research company. I have a question. You said that we should use our data appropriately. What would be an inappropriate way to use data like this?
Okay, so this sort of information is perhaps not so detailed that it can be used for an engineering design, for really high detailed inputs into things like designs. It's more suited to broad scale understanding of how the hazards can affect larger areas, and it's the outputs are generally suited to decision makers in it could be local government, could be provincial government or national government. So more about for decision making purposes for investment or for preparation, response, etc., etc. So
is this for usually like the greater national governments? I guess would it benefit more immediately, or yeah?
So the information is available to local and national government agencies.
Okay.
But it's best to actually contact the the project team directly to understand the access. And,
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are no more questions, thank you very much, Matt. That was a good talk. We will continue that talk later on. Matt, do you have a Twitter account by any chance? Twitter account? Or no? Okay, maybe time to start getting one. The millennials here can teach you how to open one. Okay, let's proceed to our Rappler talk number 2. Ferdinand Esguerra, or Bong, is the head of Globe's corporate social responsibility. Globe CSR projects focus on building the information and communications technology capacities of public high schools, local governments, environmental organizations, and social enterprises. They also have volunteer programs and electronic waste recycling initiatives. Globe is one of the top telecom companies, and of course, we're also going to hear from Smart later. So let's hear from Globe first. Bong, take it away.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Bong Esguerra from Globe Corporate Social Responsibility Department. It's nice to be back here in Rappler SocialGood Summit. I was fortunate enough to be a speaker in 2013. I was so excited about it. I had a selfie with everyone and sent it to my mom. And the first question was, what's Rappler? Anyway, so I guess a lot of things change. My mom is not a millennial, by the way, so she has no social network accounts. And so, anyway, so for today, they asked us to talk about how communications technology can have an impact to the bottom of the pyramid or the base of the pyramid. And we're going to talk about it from our work with our social enterprise partners. So, basically, social enterprises or social entrepreneurs, we feel, are a new breed of entrepreneurs that have a social mission and are using inclusive business models to target base of the pyramid sectors. Personally, from my interactions with them or our group's interaction with them, I think this comic strip epitomizes the work that they do. You know how hard it is to actually run a business and to have a social impact at that. Sometimes they neglect, no? Or sometimes they do not see how they can actually improve the way they deliver their products, their service, just by using technology. Any of you guys here have heard about Bayani Brew? Yes, okay. So Bayani Brew is a social enterprise developed in GK Enchanted Farm. They brew naturally leaves like lemongrass, pandan, and they bottle it and sell it commercially at various institutions. And in 2013, Globe partnered with them to provide them with the necessary solutions that would enable or at least unleash their productivity as a social enterprise. Just a quick snapshot of how Bayani Brew operates is that first is that their production facility is in Angat, Bulacan. Okay? Now, they buy from neighboring communities as far as Tarlac, Pampanga, and neighboring towns in Bulacan. They buy the raw materials such as the lemongrass, tanglad, pandan leaves, and kamote tops. After production, they bring everything all the way down to Metro Manila in their warehouse in Guadalupe. Okay? So I was in discussions with them trying to understand how much time is left for you to market your product or actually sell your product. So between the two of them, no, it's really very little. That's why they've been having trouble reaching a critical mass in terms of their sales volume. So happy to say that in the year that we've partnered, they've already managed to increase, no, almost 230% their monthly production volume. And this automatically increases the livelihood opportunities that is presented to the sector that they are targeting. Now, so we've helped social enterprises achieve sustainability to ensure the livelihood of the BOP sectors that they were designed to support. And how? Through the technology that we've provided them. It's as simple as providing them the necessary tools to ensure that they focus their time on sustaining their business with a simple technology like CCTV. Now they can monitor their production, they can monitor their warehouse, and focus on their business, which is selling and getting their products into the right distribution channels. So this is offered commercially. It's a simple solution of they can actually take a look at what's happening without being present in their own operations or facilities. Second case study is that we're also partnered with Custom Made Craft Center. They're not as mainstream as Bayani Brew, but the work that they do has a lot of impact with IP communities nationwide. They are the marketing arm of the Non-Timber Forest Products Exchange Alliance. So by the name itself, the group espouses alternative sources of livelihood that would take the pressure off from timber activities. So basically here, we've partnered with them in the production of indigo. Indigo is a natural dye that is also a nitrogen fixing plant that is well suited for reforestation. So it fixes the soil chemistry, at the same time helps other trees. Here, having a value chain add to the already growing industry of weaving in Aklan. We've also helped manage to increase the income of subsistence farmers in the province. And this turns out into beautifully made products that are exported already to Japan. So last month, they had a sales mission, all right? They earned almost 1 million pesos in just 5 days by talking to different importers in the US, talking with our embassies in the US. And how they do it? So basically, okay, there's a product already, but what about for other communities in Bukidnon, in Aklan, in Negros? IP communities nationwide thrive because of the work that they do, but they're having trouble keeping up. So we have very beautiful products that protect our heritage. Long story short, we've helped them by providing them the simple solution, My Shopkeeper. So for every sale that they have, it automatically gets registered into their inventory so they know what to sell, what's in their inventory, and what should they ask for the succeeding orders. So there, very simple. I guess time's up. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Bong. We'll call on the next speaker first, and then we'll ask you to answer questions later. Okay, so our next speaker, of course, if we have Globe, we have to have Smart. It's just something in the Philippines that always has to happen. For the last 12 years, Darwin has been leading Smart's community engagement initiatives for the base of the pyramid communities in the Philippines. He heads the department responsible for developing ICT-oriented, socially relevant programs in the area of education, health, disaster preparedness, and response, environment, and livelihood. And Darwin says his greatest innovation is, so far, transforming farmers and fishers into sculptors. Oh, I hope he talks about that later. Darwin, please. Thank you.
Thank
Please
you,
welcome Darwin.
Okay. The topic that was given to me was bridging the digital divide. So I'm just going to step back a little and talk about the digital divide. Okay.
It wasn't us, baka Globe. Sorry, we're just...
Okay. So just a background. Before I joined Smart, I was working for Oxfam UK when it was still Oxfam UK, and then Conservation International. So I brought my NGO background into the corporate world. And even before I joined Smart, we were already talking about digital divide and ICT for development. So the framework that we use in terms of developing products and services is based on the framework of ICT for development. How can ICT be used in developing the education sector, the farming sector, and the different sectors that we see? Even before Smart came into being, there was already the phenomenon of cell phones, but cell phones were a luxury at that time. So our founders proclaimed that their mission is to provide and make accessible cell phones for all. At that time, it was a subversive idea. Because how can you have cell phones for the farmers or the fishermen or the jeepney drivers when they cannot even afford, how much was the daily wage then? 150, 200, and then the load cards are denominated at 500, 300, 100. So if you're talking about the digital divide, you must remember that before the digital divide, there is an economic divide or a socio-economic divide. So anytime you do technology or digital development, it should be the economic divide in the background to guide you. So that's basically the
Yeah.
thesis.
Oh. Our apologies, we're just holding it tightly. Maybe one more minute. While we're waiting, Darwin, sorry. Don't worry, this won't count against your time. Just a few cards I'd like to read. My greatest innovation is carrying my environmental hat in all aspects of my life. I think I know who that was. My greatest innovation is bridging millennials to the local government through social media. My greatest innovation is teaching my mother how to use Facebook. The leader I want is someone who paves the way and does not get in the way. Wow. By the way, we invite everyone to have their photo taken with the PH Vote booth. You can leave your photo there or take it with you later on. How are we doing with our... Okay, we have 5 people trying to plug in a VJ adapter. But Darwin, if you want to keep on talking, please
I
go
can
ahead.
keep on talking. So when you're talking about how do you deploy cell sites all over the country, at the time when cell sites were luxury, you're talking about addressing the phenomenon of Imperial Manila. And when you talk about Imperial Manila, it means all businesses, all transactions go through Manila, without consideration that there are businesses and transactions going on between cities, secondary cities, and provinces. So when you're talking about cell phones for all, you have to deploy cell sites to all the cities and the municipalities, even though it is not Imperial Manila that you are deploying to. Okay? Now, on the basis of addressing the needs of the farmers, the fishermen, and all the informal sectors who go on a daily wage, how can you provide subscription to them when, again, the denomination is 500, 300. So you have to go lower denomination. And that means you have to do airtime loading. When you do airtime loading, you decrease the denomination to 50, 30, 20, which is happening now. And that's the result of being guided by the recognition that the digital divide in the first place is overlaid on the economic divide. Wala pa po ba?
Trying another laptop right now.
Okay, so one of the things that we're looking at is...
There.
Oh, okay, good.
Sorry about that. Okay. No, we'll just scroll down.
Okay, okay. Sige.
Just let us know.
Okay, next slide, please.
Next slide.
So, okay, there you are. When you talk about the economic divide, you're talking about lack of access, control, and use of economic assets. On the digital side, you have lack of access, control, and use of digital assets. When you have devices that are very expensive, how do you expect the informal sector to have access to digital assets? So it's good now that companies are deploying cheaper and cheaper cell phones and now cheaper and cheaper tablets. Again, in the economic divide, back please. You have unfair share in economic benefits, and again, in the digital divide, you have unfair share in digital benefits. One of the benefits of being in the digital sphere is that you're able to participate fully in the discussions, whether it's political or economic. So right now, how many of us have access to Facebook, Twitter, and other social media? But when you look at it, only about 30 to 40% have access to smartphones. So what happens to the 60 to 70% of our countrymen who does not have access that will give them participation in the political and economic area? But again, you'll see a phenomenon that they are also itching to have a participation in social media. Look at the phenomenon of Aldab. where you have 12 million tweets last Saturday. I don't know how many tweets they will have this Saturday. How many of you are watching Aldab? Oko konte. So you better watch that. It's just like General Luna. So two sides of the spectrum. Next, please. So again, to bridge the digital divide requires bridging the economic divide so that there's enabling of access and control of use of economic assets for the base of the pyramid, fair share in economic benefits for the base of the pyramid. And you transport that into the digital divide. Next, please. So again, to bridge the digital divide requires understanding the base of the pyramid. And I already told you earlier that for the daily wage earner, they would only have money to purchase at the middle of the day. Unlike many of us who are able to purchase load on a monthly basis because we're postpaid. And remember that in our telco industry, more than 95% of the subscribers are on prepaid. It's both Smart, Globe, Sun. So there you have it. So next. And when you, okay, there. There. So what is a contradiction is that food producers who go hungry, you have builders who don't have houses, you have drivers who don't have their own vehicles. And there you have the figures, 60 to 70% are on legacy phones, 95% are on prepaid, and number of phones for approximately 87% of farmers and fishers is like only 23% or 13%. Okay, next please. So in the context of the economic divide, any development in IT and social media should be able to address education for all, health for all, disaster resilience for all, livelihood opportunities for all, which Globe is already doing, political participation for all, peace and security for all. Next, please. And there you are. To bridge the economic divide is to bridge the digital divide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Darwin, and thank you very much for being patient with us. Can I ask you to just stay briefly? Bong, are you still here? Bong's here. We'd like to open the floor for maybe just one or two questions or comments from the audience. Now is the time to ask Globe and Smart. So, please. Does anyone like to say? Yes.
I'm Mark Joaquin from Central Escolar University, Malolos. And then I would just like to ask how can we bridge the gap between the digital divide and the economic divide if our internet capabilities are slow? Because based on facts, it is really slow that we are behind those countries that based on economic stability that we are more capable or better than them. So how can we improve our internet capabilities in order to achieve economic sustainability and growth? Thank you.
Darwin would answer this.
Okay.
No. Go ahead. You want? No. With certain innovations, we acknowledge that there are certain challenges in our industry right now that prohibits us from providing the desired experience. But from where we came before and what we're delivering now, like for example, we're providing medical services through our mobile phones. We're helping financial inclusion with our new company like Banco. So mobile innovations would really continue to develop moving forward. We're working both with the government and the private sector to ensure that we'll be delivering the desired experience very soon. No? So that's a short answer of it. There are a lot of challenges. It would take probably 3 years to have a discussion on how we can make a significant impact right away. But I'm sure that I stand here with Darwin in saying that Globe and Smart is doing everything that we can so that we can improve the services of our companies.
So maybe just a matter of time. Would you agree?
Well, just to set the context here, we are working very closely with government because we both are franchises of government, and we don't want to pass the burden on government. But it's been an experience in different countries all over the Southeast Asia, for example, that the backbone of internet is paid for by government. It is not the private sector. So if we want really to, because there are many islands and mountains in the Philippines, and there was a time when both Globe and Smart sat down with DepEd to provide internet connectivity for all high schools, 7,500 of them. When we look at our coverage, we were only covering 3,500 because it's just mountainous. There is no power in many of the schools, and there are many islands. So, I mean, business being business, let's maximize their capabilities, and government being government, let's maximize their contribution as well.
Okay, thank you. Yes, how many people want to ask? Can I just, okay, 1 and 2. 1 now.
Good morning, guys. I'm Paul Lagura. I'm from the province of Lanao Norte, in Mindanao. And I have a very good question. How can we forge partnership? Because we are advocating RISE Philippines. It's Rural Impact Sourcing in Empowering Philippines, wherein we are bringing digital employment and entrepreneurship through freelance jobs. I believe that in the whole country, we have 1.3 million jobs to be available by 2016 and 900 online workers in the whole Philippines. So in this way, we are looking forward to forging partnerships to both Globe and Smart so that we can bring this freelance industry not only to metro cities but also in the provinces and municipal governments as well. Thank you.
Maybe tips on how they can work with you guys?
Maybe we can have a talk later, but of course, we're more than willing to have a discussion with you. I think we've met before, right? We went to Lanao del Norte and so we had a livelihood program in their municipality and you look familiar. So that's one particular avenue that we can explore and expand. Globe, follow us at GlobeBridgeCom, and then you can email me. I'll be there at the back later if anyone wants to establish relationships or collaborations with Globe Telecom's CSR department.
Okay, thank you, Bong. And Darwin?
On our part, just go to the Batibot booth.
Okay.
That's our contribution towards education for all.
Okay, thank you very much, Darwin and Bong. You've been very great sports. Let's give a round of applause for both Globe and Smart. Now, we move to a very interesting part of our program, and I realize this might be a challenge for a lot of our presenters, but let's give them some benefit of doubt and some leeway and encourage them, because we're going to be asking them to share with our share space, and we're only going to give each of our speakers 2 minutes to present their idea or to invite you to come and approach them later on. So to introduce our share space speakers, I'd like to call on my colleague, Balikbayan editor Ryan Macasero, to introduce all of the speakers at once so that each of you can just go when it's your turn. Ryan?
Hello, good morning, everyone. As Zach said, I am the Balikbayan editor, which is the section for OFWs. I just had to plug that in. So yes, like he said, we are giving each speaker, it's like a tweet, 140 characters, just kidding, but 2 minutes to present, to tell everybody what they are doing. Our first speaker is Arman Balillo. He's a high-ranking officer of the Philippine Coast Guard and a board member of World Vision. And then next we have Dr. Rina Estuar. She is the executive director of the Ateneo Java Wireless Competency Center, where they design and develop mobile cloud solutions in the areas of education, disaster, health, and transport. Next, we have Marina Azcarete. Marina leads the global marketing for Open Garden, a pioneer in peer-to-peer mesh networking technology. Open Garden is a creator of FireChat, the first mobile messaging app that works even if there's no internet access or cellular phone coverage. And then we have Eugene Alvin Villar, who's from OpenStreetMap Philippines. By day, he's an electronics engineer, and by night is an avid contributor to open and free content projects like Wikipedia, Wikimedia Commons, and OpenStreetMap. And then lastly, we have Colleen Curran. She is from Philippine Disaster Recovery Foundation and is the mapping specialist, where she works to bring businesses, governments, and technical partners together for increased resilience. So can we have our first speaker on stage, Commander Arman Balillo?
And while he's going up, and I please ask the people in the back to quiet down so that you can also hear what's being said, because as you know, we're very many, and the noise is echoing.
So let me read my script. So I won't go beyond the 2 minutes. World Vision in the Philippines has been an advocate of sustainable development, consistently working towards the goal for 58 years now. Its volunteers set out to the poorest communities in the country, extending light where future seems dark. Our current programs focus on education, health and nutrition, economic development, and disaster risk reduction. World Vision's model for community development is through child sponsorship. Child sponsorship is all about giving chances. I know of a child who grew up in the slums of Caloocan in the 80s, poverty-stricken and eldest of the brood of 6, and the future looked bleak for young lad who had to sell scraps and peddle goods so he could go to school. All this changed when World Vision came to his community and informed him that the kind family wanted to sponsor his education. That boy was me. World Vision has given me more than just education, clothes on my back, or supplies necessary for school. It has given me a chance at having a better life. They were part of my community for many, many years, transforming not just my life, but the lives of many others. Looking back, it scares me thinking how my life would have turned out had it not been for World Vision. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Commander Arman Balilo, the head of the Public Affairs Service of the Philippine Coast Guard and the current spokesperson of the Philippine Coast Guard, once a sponsored child and now a sponsor to 5 children. I now serve as one of the members of the World Vision's local Board of Trustees. My story is just one of the several stories of children and families that had 360-degree turn for the better. World Vision's steadfast partnership with its communities help give chances and transform our stories into one with a happy ending. Good morning, and if you have questions, we have a booth back there, and just ask the staff of World Vision about World Vision. Thank you, and good morning.
Okay, good morning. I'd like to thank Rappler for providing us with an opportunity to speak about our project. My name is Rina Estoar. I'm from Ateneo de Manila University, and for today, I'm wearing the hat as project leader of Ibayanihan. So Ibayanihan is a project that did not happen overnight. Over the years, we were looking at how to blend understanding social behavior and using technology to be able to track human behavior. And today, I'm happy to introduce to you our product, Ibayanihan. It is designed with the understanding that there is meaning behind natural conversations. There is meaning behind unstructured behavior. There is such a thing called collective intelligence. There's such a thing called crowdsourcing. And what we need is a tool that can collect these information from the ground and distribute it to the corresponding agencies who need to know about this information. And Ibayanihan is a disaster management platform that aims to actually just do that, to provide an opportunity for people to be civically engaged, to contribute disaster information, and for our respective agencies to actually be able to retrieve the information that they need so that they will know how to respond. It has 6 features, which covers the phases of preparedness, response, and rehabilitation. It is also technology inclusive, as it is available in all platforms. It was designed from the ground up with a thorough research on user experience. And it is interoperable with Rappler. Thank you.
come back. Do you need a clicker? No.
Kaya po.
Hello, and thank you, Rappler, for organizing the event. So we're looking at the next 5 billion connected devices in the world. In the Philippines, smartphone penetration has tripled in the last year. So 1 out of 3 Filipinos now owns a smartphone. There's a huge appetite to transact and communicate and connect using these devices. We even know they can serve a social purpose by empowering communities and bringing about better governance and even saving lives in disasters. So the problem is that the networks that support those communications cannot scale fast enough to actually deliver on this social promise or meet the demand for communication. So everybody's looking for an alternative. So you've heard about Facebook drones and Google balloons. So even these alternatives cannot scale fast enough, and they won't become operational for years. So we're looking at a solution, which is what Open Garden does. We connect mobile phones directly to one another to create free local networks. We've created a mobile app called FireChat. It's a free app for Android and iOS, and it works where other apps can't, where there is no internet access or cell networks. This is how the mesh network operates. So on the left, you have a traditional network, and on the right is a peer-to-peer mesh network where all the nodes are connected to one another. So this creates networks that are free, that are resilient, and can be used on an everyday basis, but also in situations of disaster where networks are destroyed. So you see here how Rappler has been using the app to disseminate updates on typhoons and adverse weather. And in the next few days, we're going to be announcing a partnership here in the Philippines to deploy our technology on a large-scale pilot here in Manila. So, you know, watch this space, and I'd be happy to also talk to anyone who wants at the break. We're partnering with cell carriers and other institutions to scale this technology. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Eugene Villar, and I'm from the OpenStreetMap Philippines community. And
Hello. Yes, thanks. While we're setting up, can I just remind everyone to please tone down your volume, and also you can tweet this. We're capturing it live now on Rappler on hashtag TheLeaderIwant, which will also appear on the Agos map when you tweet with your location on.
okay, so again, good morning, everyone. I know that many of you know the power or the value of or the importance of having good maps. I'm sure many of you went here using Google Maps or Waze, but we all know that map data or geodata in general can be used for a lot of other tools and areas, or such as, for example, for business analysis, epidemiology, humanitarian aid, and other areas. The problem is, if you want to get good map data, you either have to pay a lot of money, or the data is not there to begin with. For example, as is the case in many third world countries. Enter OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap is a worldwide crowdsourced project to map the whole world down to the street level detail. Every day, thousands of mappers go out, get GPS tracks, write down notes, and take photos, and then they edit the global map in order to add a new restaurant, or to delete a demolished building, or to trace a farm-to-market road. And the good thing about this is that all of the data is free and open licensed. Because the data is licensed, you can do lots of cool stuff, such as making applications for navigation, creating a cycling team map, or even wearing a map team stockings. Here in the Philippines, we know that the Philippines is one of the most vulnerable countries with regards to disasters. And the local OpenStreetMap community has used OpenStreetMap for disaster risk reduction and management. For example, when Typhoon Yolanda struck the Philippines in 2013, thousands of volunteer mappers from all over the world mapped in the wake of the typhoon, and they've added or improved over 4 million objects on the map. And this map was then used by 8 agencies, such as the American Red Cross and the International Organization for Migration, in order to provide relief, rehabilitation, and damage assessment. But we do not stop at just disaster reaction. We also go for disaster preparedness. And the local OpenStreetMap community has conducted many workshops to teach local government units to use maps for disaster risk reduction and management. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Rappler, thanks for having me. I'm Colleen from PDRF, the Philippine Disaster Recovery Foundation, the only foreigner working for the foundation. Here's a Landsat image of Metro Manila, home to over 10 million people and 37% of the country's GDP. Also, we're precariously on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and we're developed on the Valley Fault system. If ever the Manila Trench were to go, it could potentially send water inundating Metro Manila, about 100 square kilometers of Metro Manila with fast-flowing water. Alternatively, if a 7.2 magnitude earthquake were to strike on the fault system, it would create ground shaking that would affect 180 square kilometers of Metro Manila. And this is data from the RAP project that Sir Matthew helped create with the Philippine government. Metro Manila is where most of us work. It's where we gain our livelihood. In order to do that, we need essential services like water, telecommunications, power, and food to eat. But if any of these disasters were to happen, they would create widespread devastation. So the Philippine Disaster Recovery Foundation is in a really unique position as we work with government and also the private sector to kind of share data in a way that helps build resilient infrastructure that prepares us for disaster or the potential loss of economic income if a disaster were to happen in Metro Manila. Thank you, Pa.
Also joining this fantastic panel is Celso Caballero III and from Weather Philippines of the Abuetes Foundation. Please join us on the stage.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll make this very quick because really the video is what will be more meaningful. But I guess just to... There you go. So the advocacy is that for disaster preparedness and creating a weather-wiser nation. So it is a project of the Aboitiz Foundation, Union Bank, and Meet You Group. And we're here to complement government's effort on disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. No? So we use the pillars of technology, partnerships, and engagement to pursue our advocacy of a weather-wiser nation. So we have 752 weather stations all across the Philippines today. We are still going for our goal of 1,000. All of these have been provided to the LGUs for free. So none of our local government units and the public has paid for this. No, the sustainability model is that the private sector provides the funds in order to sustain this initiative. No, and our data processing is through one of Europe's best weather company, Meet You Group. No? So without further ado, we have a mobile app called Weather Philippines, which you can download on both Google and Apple. Please download it. Help spread the advocacy for a weather-wiser nation. Thank you for Rappler's Social Good Summit, which brings together the innovators and the collaborators. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So you're playing the video, right?
What's the video?
Yeah. Weather Philippines Facebook is Weather Philippines, and that our Twitter account is Weather PH. No? In a while, you'll see our mobile app on the screen. No? So we always have these technical challenges in every event. So it makes life more interesting and fun. No? But I hope for a lot of you, those who are interested to finding out localized weather, no, weather in your particular area, municipality, city, you might want to take a look at weather.com.ph, our website, or the app Weather Philippines, no, which is free on both iOS and Google. No? Yeah, I'm running out of things to say. Okay.
Don't forget, you can tweet us, hashtag 2030now and TheLeaderIwant. So maybe we can play the video in a bit when we get it. I'm sorry about that, Celso. Sorry. Now, let's move on to our next part. But we'll talk about why we tell stories and move. And I'd like to show a short video.
This is the story of Move PH. From the sidewalks of Cebu to the streets of Jakarta, Move PH has nurtured and engaged communities, empowering them to tell their stories and make ripples of change. In 2015, Move PH conducted more than 15 citizen journalism workshops across the Philippines to teach students, youth leaders, citizen journalists, and local activists how to utilize social media to push for their advocacies. In Tawi-Tawi, more than 1,500 youth started a movement to find solutions to their common problems. This movement has become a model which will be replicated across the Philippines. Move PH's flagship project, Project Agos, harnesses technology and social media to ensure critical information flows to those who need it before, during, and after disasters. The Project Agos program also helps local government officials and disaster responders use social media to improve disaster communication. With funding from AusAid, Project Agos has conducted more than 10 social media workshops all over the Philippines and trained hundreds of volunteers to act as digital humanitarians in times of crisis. While Tropical Storm Mario or Fung Wong battered the country in 2014, a trapped pregnant mother, Risa Delgado, was rescued with the aid of social media and Project Agos partners.
Nagpapasalamat po ako na nailigtas ko kami ng baby ko kasi nung malakas na malakas ho yung ulan, halos yung mga barangay ho, hindi ho kami tinutulungan. Pasalamat po ako sa Red Cross na natulungan ako, hindi ho ako iniwan.
Move PH believes in the power to challenge a better life at home, but it took a Filipino abroad to show us what we can. Indonesian PH and Rappler's Indonesia Bureau ran a campaign to share Mary Jane's story to the world. In the end, public clamor to #Save Mary Jane was too big to ignore. Today, Mary Jane lives. This is the story of Move PH and of the movers who have made all of this possible. Thank you for moving the Philippines forward.
I'd like to introduce Move PH's editor, Voltaire Tupas.
Magandang umaga sa ating lahat. It's nice to meet you. Are you sure na tamang eyeball na pinuntahan ninyo? Because as we speak, another eyeball is happening at busy ang bansa sa kamomonitor ng hashtag na yon, yung hashtag AldabEB for love. Pinapakita nung trending topic na yan, yung power ng mga Pilipino na mag-trend sa Twitter. Ngayon, dito sa ating event, pinapakita natin ang isa pang capacity ng mga Pilipino na mag-create ng trending topic, which we are now, I think, doing. May trending topic na yung Now PH, to create social good. A year ago, on September 24, while we were doing our Social Good Summit in Tacloban a year after the Yolanda tragedy, may bagyong nangyari sa Luzon at binaha ang ilang bahagi ng Manila. And I would like to tell you a story about a woman from an urban community named Riza Delgado. Can we play? Here. I think napanood nyo na yung kanina. Ay, what happened? Okay. Habang nagso-Social Good Summit kami sa Tacloban, lahat ng Rapplers nandun sa Tacloban, konti lang yung nasa Manila, but this thing happened.
Nailigtas ko kami ng baby ko kasi nung malakas na malakas ho yung ulan, halos yung mga barangay ho, hindi ho kami tinutulungan. Kundi dahil nga po kala Ate Badet, sana wala ho yung baby ko ngayon. Tsaka ako po. Pumunta ho ako doon na walang-wala kahit damit ho, pati yung anak ko walang damit. 2 araw ho siyang nakabalot lang sa lampin. Kasi nga po wala nga hong kasama ho yung mga anak ko doon sa evacuation, doon sa eskwelahan po. Kaya po nagtiis po ako na hanggang humakalabas ho kami doon. Na binibigyan lang ho kami ng mga damit doon na mga nanganganak din po, pati ho yung baby ko binigyan din ho ng mga damit. Kasi nga po, wala rin naman ho kinabubuhay, nangangalaka lang ho kami ng anak ko na panganay para mairahos ko sila sa pagkain araw-araw. Salamat po sa Red Cross tsaka sa social media po.
Actually, inamin niya after, hindi niya alam kung anong social media, naririnig lang niya. In fact, hindi pa niya nakita yung Facebook at Twitter. Pero, ramdam niya kung ano yung tulong na naibigay sa kanya ng social media at ng online community. Imagine this, wala siyang cellphone, 5 ang kanyang anak, mayroon siyang isang person with disability na kapatid, at binaha yung bahay nila at inakyat niya isa-isa yung kanyang pamilya sa kanilang bubong. At that time, she was in labor. Ganon yung pinagdaanan niya nung Mario PH. Pero dahil sa tulong ng isang organizer sa community nila, na ipaabot ang kanyang panawagan, yung call for help na pangangailangan ng kanyang pamilya, at tinext ng organizer na yon sa isang national organization, yung Gabriela, at pinost sa Facebook. Doon nakita ng Project Agos yung incident na yon. At ang ginawa ng Project Agos, immediately nagipag-ugnayan kami sa Red Cross, isang partner namin. In no time, nakapag-deploy ng tulong ang Facebook, ang Red Cross. Pagdating sa hospital, after 6 minutes, nag-deliver si Risa. Safe yung bata, healthy. This Christmas, isa na siya sa aking mga inaanak. Naku, may utang na naman ako sa Christmas. 1-year-old na yung baby, ang tawag namin sa kanya, Baby Agos. Ganyan kaganda yung online community. It shows you the power of social media combined with social solidarity. Now, the next challenge, in fact, is to scale up action. Isang case lang to. Can we amplify? Can we amplify messages like this? Yes, we can. In fact, na-prove na natin, as we speak, 10 million tweets ang na-generate ng Aldab EB for Love. In other words, may capacity ang mga Pilipino na mag-amplify ng ganong mga posts. How much more yung kabutihan? Yan ang challenge sa atin. And in fact, we've tried. During the Shake drill, sinong familiar sa Shake drill? It's the biggest earthquake drill sa Manila na isinagawa noong July na kapag generate tayo, it racked up over 2 billion views for the hashtag MMShakeDrill on Twitter. That's thousands of tweets. But that only means awareness level. Ang challenge ay to transform yung ganong awareness sa action. At the end of the day, social good is social action. Hindi lang salita, di ba? So yun yung challenge sa atin. And it's possible, in fact, our capacity to do good at this point, in the age of social media, is borderless. Kahit saan pwede kang gumawa ng social good. Halimbawa na lang, yung Mary Jane. It started with a simple hashtag. Hashtag Mary Jane. Hindi ko alam, pinagalitan ako ng aking editor. Hindi ka nagbabasa ng ating article. Gawan nyo na yan ng campaign. So ang ginawa namin, we tried to ask the people, the crowd, kung sino si Mary Jane. Because our bureau in Indonesia, yung Rappler Indonesia, was writing stories about Mary Jane. Walang nagbabasa masyado. And so we held a conversation. That conversation took off and in fact became viral, evolved into a movement which was named hashtag Save Mary Jane. And what did we do as a nation? We helped save a life. And that's very important, not only because it's a national initiative, but also because it was a regional movement. It influenced decision-making sa Indonesia. Nung malaman ng presidente, yung civil society ng Indonesia was supporting the movement from the Philippines, nakatulong yun para magbago ang kanyang isipan, according to the civil society groups who spoke with Jokowi. In fact, the petition filed sa change.org ng isang church group na sinuportahan ng move.ph ay ang fastest na petition online sa change.org to date. So yan ang natutulong ng isang movement na nagsiscale up. Next. After saving Mary Jane, we moved on and then wrote stories and then organized communities, online communities. And then one of the communities na we bumped into ay yung sa Cebu. Sa Cebu, naalala mo yung batang ito? Ang pangalan niya ay si Daniel Cabrera. Siya ay nakatira sa isang shanty, walang ilaw. So araw-araw, gabi-gabi, siya ay nag-aaral sa tabi ng isang fast food resto. At pinost ito ng isang netizen. Siya ay si Joyce. Si Joyce ay nag-aaral ng medicine sa Cebu. Papunta siya sa resto para sana kumain. At nakita niya, kung ang batang ito nga ay nag-aaral ng mabuti under those circumstances, paano na ako? Kaya nag-aaral siya ng mabuti para makapasa sa kanyang board, na-inspire siya. Yan yung impact ng social media. Pinost niya sa Facebook hanggang naging viral. Now, stories like this are replicated across the country. In fact, yung sa kanya ay pwedeng sabihin nating model kung paano ang isang story ay nakakapag-create ng impact sa ating lipunan. In fact, it reached the United Nations. Siya na ngayon ay face ng isang campaign para sa edukasyon, para mabigyan yung mga kabataan ng access to education. At ang isang crowdfunding na ginawa para makatulong sa kanya ay nakaabot ng more than 420% sa target niya na gustong yung mga street kids sa Cebu, sa kanyang community, ay natulungan na rin dahil sa stories na ito. Now, that is the challenge now. We move people to act, but we also want to amplify and magnify our campaigns. So, sa Move PH, from Basilan to Tawi-Tawi, isang trike drivers ang nilaunch, isang local issue hanggang sa national issue, TheLeaderIwant, hashtag TheLeaderIwant. The Cebu youth weighed in on the visit ni Binay and Po and Rojas noon, tried to create conversations about issues. And finally, at the international level, our newest campaign is to generate 1 million signatures for the Philippines na dadalhin sa Paris for the climate talks. Ganon yung capacity na gusto nating ma-harness sa online community at also sa ating mga organizations. And we hope that you could help. Now, because MOVE constantly changes and Rappler also evolves, we feel that it is about time to level up. Kailangang i-empower pa yung mga communities natin. It's good to be working with millennials in the newsroom because they are not only passionate, they're also smart, and they are very innovative. And they are supporting our causes. So here to tell us about another platform which gives the power, which puts the power to create social good in your hands, I'm calling one of my colleagues, Dominic Go, to share with you another innovation of Rappler. Dominic, take it away.
Hi, good morning, guys. I'm Dominic. I work with the Rappler tech team. And as Voltaire said, stories really amplify movement. So we think we have the perfect platform here to help you do that. And it's called X. We think you've seen it on Facebook, you've seen it on Twitter. People have already written on it, and you've already read stories on it. But really, what is Rappler X? X is an experiment on Rappler's part, and we're taking the best of what we've learned when we built Rappler, built Move, and built Reach. It's our social analytics dashboard, and we're going to share with you that knowledge so that you can take advantage of those learnings. So this is what it looks like. You can log into x.rappler.com to try it out. But let me show you quickly a few stories that have gone viral recently. So someone wrote about General Luna. You've seen it viral on your Facebook feeds, and it's a very good take. Some people are clamoring for Congressman Lenny to run for vice president. You can also read that on X. And some people have written about our good mayor from Davao. So those are the stories that have gone viral recently, and we hope you guys will join this platform so that you can build communities and find other people who share and care about the same issues as you do. So as Voltaire said, we really want our stories to drive action and to drive movement. So try it out. The URL is x.rappler.com, and we hope to see you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us. Again, try X, help change the country, Move PH, and join us on Twitter at Move PH, and visit us on Facebook. Engage through conversations and join our activities on the ground and online. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Voltaire. Pardon me, but I'd like to move on to our next speaker so that we can finish on time. We're a bit late, but don't worry. I think there'll be enough time for everyone here to chit-chat afterwards. So for our next speaker, I'd like to introduce Kai Kaiser. He's a senior economist in the World Bank in Manila. He is primarily focused on public finance and public sector governance reform in the country. Before this, he was a senior economist in Washington, D.C. Is someone I've met a couple of times before, and he seems to be very, very passionate about moving the Philippines forward, especially keeping our roads opened and keeping us engaged in the governance of our own country. So, Kai?
Morning, everyone. Can I get... Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Today I want to talk to you about an initiative that we're doing with a number of partners in government that tries to bring together the idea of open government, good governance, mapping, but above all, feedback and your engagement. So, hashtag #OurRoad2. And it's also about an initiative we have called Open Roads. It's together with a colleague of mine. So, 5%. If you look at next year's 3 trillion peso budget, 767 pesos is on public infrastructure spending. That's 20%, that is 5% of GDP. 1 peso out of every economic activity next year we expect to be on public infrastructure. That's 4 times larger than at the start of this administration. Those are big amounts of money. If you currently look at the major push that government is making, it's building roads, building national roads, but also improving our road network at the local level. There are currently over 10,000 projects, road projects, ongoing all across the Philippines, and we expect another several thousand to come on stream next year in the 2016 budget. So 5%, our road too. So what is it about roads? Well, I would say it's not just about building roads, while that's important. It's not just about building better roads and having more concrete, while it's important to get that job done. So think about, what is it about roads? What do roads mean for you, for those that you engage in, and what's your road to? I would say building roads, it's about connecting communities. It's about building better futures. It's about getting the roads in the right place. It's about getting roads to market so that people can get their produce to the markets, but also it's about roads to better schools and thinking how these roads are actually connecting up. So think for a moment about your community and where roads are going in your roads. Are your roads connecting? What do those roads mean to you, and are you able to influence that path? It's about roads that connect to healthcare in addition to markets and others. So think for a moment, if these are more meaning to roads, then it's also about roads to jobs. It's about getting you to better jobs. It's about getting people to work. It's about relieving congestion. It's generally about creating a better road network. So, and finally, it's not just about us who live in the Philippines, although that's an important one to get us to the destinations, the wonderful destinations all across the Philippines. It's actually being able to show foreigners the beauty of the Philippines and drive our own economy. And roads matter because tourists, the last thing that tourists also want is a bad trip. They want a good trip. So roads and connecting to destinations matters a lot. So I'm going to take this in a very personal direction. I'm glad we have some of our friends from Palawan here today, because that's actually me over there in the slide, and this is a bit how this journey began about 2 years ago. We were looking at road projects, and Port Barton is actually a wonderful destination, but we ended up getting stuck because that road was not passable to a destination. So this was a community that both had access to outside clinics, but was also a tourism destination. I ask you to go back to Port Barton now, and it looks a heck of a lot better. It's getting there, and it looks all right. So that road is the road to Port Barton. So on that note, what can we do in terms of bringing open government feedback and participation to the problem of making roads more meaningful and delivering well on the 5%? Well, it's about our road to the places that I need to go. And what we've done with a number of partners in government is established a consolidation site which is called openroads.gov.ph. openroads.gov.ph. What Open Roads actually does, it brings together information on what is the existing road network in communities, and actually being able to allow you to track and let you know where are the projects that are in your neighborhood, so you can at least provide feedback on those projects that are ongoing, just as you would expect from billboards and others. But more importantly, it allows you to drill down into individual projects and programs, both by partners such as ourselves, the World Bank, but also by others, to find these roads. This is an example from Bohol, and what this site actually does, it allows you to both bring public disclosure and transparency to where projects are being at, but it also allows you to drill down and actually see those projects. So here, click on. The key point to this is good roads mean good economics. So understanding whether roads are connecting matters a great deal. But what we're also using is a lot of mobile technology, for example, route shoot videos, that allow us with simple mobile devices to take videos that provide virtual tours to assess how roads are going, and you can log on and actually see what has been progress from the original ones. It's using very simple mobile technology that provides you offline access to where the roads are and allows you to provide feedback. So this is Route Shoot, and there's Route Shoot Philippines, which is another app, which again, you can download for free. It's about understanding where the roads are exactly, being able to then track them. And so this is an example from a World Bank project together with the Department of Agriculture and others that allows you to actually map the roads, but understand what is the value of the project, where does it connect, and allow you to begin providing feedback on those projects. More importantly, it allows you to both see the evolution of the project over time. So this interactive system, together with some of our partners in government, DBM, COA, and others, allows you to actually view the images of the projects over different periods of time. And this is, again, as part of the platform to allow you to take a virtual tour of those roads. Further drilling down into those areas and understanding whether road progress is being made and where there are gaps for roads that matter to you. But data does not mean anything, or information does not mean anything if you're not able to provide feedback. And this is where we really encourage you to engage with these types of initiatives as part of the Open Roads 2. So concluding point, in terms of bringing together the initiatives of open government, feedback, and transparency, we would suggest that good roads actually make for good politics. And initiatives like this or platforms like this and a government that is willing to put information in the public domain are really a first step to realizing your roads, our roads, to the places you want to go, and also bringing these projects to fruition. So we encourage you to engage and look and really say, what are roads to you, and where would you like the roads to go beyond the 5% headline numbers that I started my presentation with? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kai. Maybe we have time for about one comment or question from the audience. Or maybe, Kai, if you want to take that minute to provide anything that you might have missed while I wait for someone to get the courage to ask a question. Oh, well, okay. We have Colleen again.
Hi, thank you. I was just wondering, what is the participation level of the government to make this data transparent? Are we talking 10% of all road projects are now on this platform, or 100%?
So the focus of the platform at the moment has been on projects that are where the national government is financing local road projects. So there are a number of the flagship programs on there, starting with, of course, a number of the projects with the bank, but other development partners such as the Australian DFAT for the PRMF, USAID with a number of the other projects on there. So the current platform actually does have several thousand projects on it. I think the key point would be that a number of the agencies are also working to build and strengthen their own systems of geotagging, so they're actually able to update that information. So it's growing, it's certainly not full, and I think one of the things that we're also working with government and others to is thinking through is how can you mainstream this practice as part of both the open government policies, but also as part of the annual budget process, because government has been able to, I think, get a number of successes with unbundling lump sums, identifying where those projects are, and the next step of mapping and disclosure and tracking is really taking that forward. So I think we're seeing quite a number of more of the progressive agencies working in that direction. And hopefully over time, this can be something that provincial governments, local governments, other agencies can take on to other infrastructure areas, not just the roads.
What kind of feedback do you desire from the citizens? And in addition to that, how will our feedback influence the projects that are currently going on in regards to the roads?
I think there are a number of levels of feedback as these initiatives develop. The first one is understanding, are the roads actually getting built? It's getting back to my question, which is, can I now connect to Port Barton? So can I go on the platform and allowing you to provide feedback and saying, this connection now works, there's been great progress. So we don't want actually, I think these conversations can also be very positive in the sense that we celebrate the achievements where major connections have been made, and I think we're seeing a number of them. So that's one area where we would like you to engage. Celebrate the projects that have succeeded. Focus not just on those that have, and I think chalk those successes, provide feedback on those. But in areas where things are lagging behind, or the things are not completely coming together, or you have questions about the data, provide feedback in that. So that's, I think, the first step. Once I think you have a recognition of what are the road projects in your communities, in your area, and what does the network look like, then the conversation can become more sophisticated and better, because you can say, okay, we understand what has been prioritized, we understand what's ongoing, but then you can say, what's missing? Where are there priority roads that are really important in terms of what matters to you or those communities? So the second phase would really be to say, understand which projects are ongoing, celebrate those projects that are succeeding, but then take the conversation forward and say, okay, where are there roads, where are there connections that need to be made? So it's not just about pouring concrete, but it's about making those connections both in the concrete sense, but more importantly in your communities.
I would like to add on to my question. So from the other presentations in regards to, sure. In regards to the previous presentations that are discussing citizens who have access to internet and those kinds of things, I'm assuming most of these roads will be built in areas that are the provinces where people don't have access to give feedback. So how would we facilitate feedback from them and ensure that there is a communication between people who are living there who don't have resources like that?
That's an excellent point. So I think, first of all, in terms of looking at the platform and even going back to Port Barton, one of the things that we've spent a lot of time in the past 12 months through spending a lot of time in the field is actually optimizing both the app but the platform to run on low bandwidth. So one of the things that we found out early on was, for example, when we did the route shoot, as soon as you left Globe or Smart Territory, you had no idea where the roads were. So the app has now been improved to actually be able to, even when you leave Globe or Smart Territory, you still have an offline map, including, by the way, I think one of the earlier colleagues was talking about open street mapping. So we're big fans of open street mapping because it also provides you the network and tells you where there are missing gaps. So one thing that you can do is make sure that the apps and the operations actually work even as you leave and you can find the roads, and at least that gives you the ability to connect when you're at. The other, of course, is to work on building other means of feedback like SMS and others that require lower bandwidth. So we've really been working on those, and I think that's the next phase of really leveraging the information through SMS and engaging. But I think the final one, and this is where people like yourselves become very important, is you are the digital natives in some ways, but it's also up to you to then bridge that information and reach out to communities that are in some ways not on this side of the digital divide and take those opportunities to engage them. So we would actually encourage you to take your ability and your connection to the net and take it and provide feedback that is otherwise not always internet-based, but can do that. So I actually encourage extending things like printing out maps, taking them to communities that don't have internet access, drawing into them, but then bringing them back into the digital space. So I think it's exactly those areas where we can bridge those divides and engage communities that don't yet have access to the internet.
So hi, we're from SocialGood, and just really curious about the citizen feedback part of it. I'd love to hear an example of how negative feedback was used in order to help with the road project that is being talked about.
Okay, so one example is, which we've had in the first phase, has actually been, and I think we're working with a number of the agencies now to ensure that their data becomes more validated and is progressively improved. No data is ever perfect at the outset, particularly when you're collecting geotags. So one concrete example on feedback that we've had is when people go out to the road and they say, here's the geotag, and it turns out that that project is not in the place where we thought it was. So when they go out. So there's basically feedback to say, this project is actually, and then hopefully the positive line of that is that you can clarify with the agencies and say, actually, no, we realigned that project. And I think we had some good examples even in a number of the province. We realigned that project to better connect, because when it was first designed, it wasn't so good. So the project is there. So that's one concrete area where we've actually seen concrete feedback. I think a number of areas, even in our own work, we've seen where projects are very close in the same space. And of course, the power of big data is that it allows you to do big time analysis on where there are roads overlapping once you have all the 10,000. So that's one area. I think the final area is also where you begin asking yourselves, when you map the projects, do they connect to the national highway system or not? And that gives you two questions. One is either the road really is in the middle of nowhere, or it's simply that communities need to come in and map those connections so that we understand that these are not roads in the middle of nowhere. So that's really the first phase where we have focused on to try to improve the information, the supply side of the information. The next phase, I think, will be bringing more feedback on terms of ongoing projects. We already have several hundred projects that are up with RouteShoot and others, so you can view them. But I think for me, the next frontier will be then bringing people not just into the decision of looking at projects that are already budgeted and ongoing, but it's really bringing more active dialogue of communities into the process of prioritizing roads that have yet to be built. So I think that's the other part of feedback, to say, yes, you've built those roads or you're building those roads, but it's really important that you make that connection there. And we feel the platform can provide that. There's actually some wonderful examples from the Netherlands and other countries that we've looked at, and we really think that because of the high level of digital penetration and others actually in the Philippines, those kinds of techniques actually should work to be scalable here.
Hi, my name is Jay, and I'm from the Department of the Interior and Local Government Region 4A. And I'd like to ask, what can we do to be able to collaborate with you? Since one of the major concerns that we have is monitoring of projects, especially in remote areas in the region. So is there any chance that you would collaborate with DILG or DBM, or do you already have connections with them?
Actually, excellent question, and I'm sorry I didn't give kudos to DILG, because DILG is really one of the agencies that we've been quite active with. There's, for example, a new program that is launching in the next budget year, which is called Calzada, which provides resources to provinces. And one of the very innovative things that DILG and DBM has done is they have made the submission of RouteShoot videos. So these digital videos, not just the tracks, but the submission of these videos mandatory prior to the approvals of these budgets. So they give you a very concrete sense. So that's one area where we've been working with Calzada and reaching out to the provinces. And we look certainly forward to strengthening that relationship together with DBM. So thank you for that. That is actually one of the things I should have raised in the presentation. I think the other areas where DILG can be an amazing catalyst is, for example, to take projects that they feel are priority programs, be it, for example, Pamana and others, and use their links to local government, others, to encourage forward-looking, through training and others, upload the information so that we can progressively bottom-up map. Because I think one thing we found is it's unrealistic to expect agencies to do mapping top-down of multiple thousand projects. What's more realistic is to engage the communities from below and say, in principle, here are projects. Why don't you geo-map those projects? And I think, to get back to your question, it's if you see a project that is not mapped, you can also go in, or others working with agencies in collaboration with them, to actually map those projects and bring the map fuller and fuller over time. So it takes the crowdsourcing to work with agencies like DILG. So happy to speak to you afterwards. And yes, we are working with DILG, and quite exciting.
Okay, thank you very much, Kai. Let's give a big round of applause to Kai Kaiser. Thank you. And moving on to our last speaker before our final share space. Ramya Gopalan is the innovation specialist from the UNDP, and her background basically goes like this. After hearing inspirational talks about innovation in the United Nations Development Plan, particularly in Europe and Central Asia, Ramya thought to open a space for innovation in the Asia-Pacific region and sow the seeds of an innovation fund. The idea was to provide UNDP colleagues with the creative space and seed funding to go beyond traditional linear planning and allow for experimentation. So without much further ado, Ramya, thank you very much, and I hope your leg isn't too much of an injury.
Okay, thank you. Can I have the clicker? Hello, everyone. Okay, so while I wait for the clicker, our journey on innovation really begins with this region. And I want to draw on this region because for me personally, Asia Pacific is a fascinating region. And here's the reason why. In the last 2 decades, we've seen enormous economic and social progress within the region. We've also seen comparable GDP growth rates amongst developing economies here that have surpassed other regions. But it's not all a pretty story, right? We also have 2/3 of the world's poor in this region. And clearly the next tranche of gains that we expect to gain here are being threatened by what we call persistent development challenges. Traditional drivers of economic and social progress have evolved over time. And this is where innovation really plays a role in its many dimensions, especially with the advent of new technologies and the appetite for reform that we're seeing in a lot of these countries. There is a role that innovation can play to address these persistent development challenges, given the fact that we're in such a dynamic and challenging context, and this especially requires foresight, agile solutions, and innovative thinking. Our framework for innovation hasn't necessarily been about large-scale investments. We've really started with minimal seed resources. And the emphasis has really been on rethinking the way we approach challenges, looking at the horizon, looking at how we might partner with different solutions and partners already there, and really co-designing and co-developing small-level prototypes that we can rapidly test, fail fast, fail cheap, and eventually achieve impact at scale. Just to give you an idea of what we've been working on. Anyone tell me which country this is? Any guesses? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, China. A huge problem in China, electronic waste. We're looking at 70% of the global electronic waste in China. Just in 2011 alone, and I might not get all the figures here right, but we're looking at consumption patterns of more than 56 million TVs, more than 60 million refrigerators, 250 million phones, and that's just in 1 year. And that 1 year also led to about 4 million tons of electronic waste that needed to be disposed and managed. So this is the kind of challenges that we're grappling with. What do we do that can go beyond business as usual? What do we do that can really challenge traditional solutions? So we brought together user groups. We spoke to citizens. What incentivizes them to dispose their waste? What is the lack of knowledge that, what is the kind of knowledge that they would need to, be able to do this? We spoke to retailers, both formal and informal sectors, to understand what is it that prevents them from, safe disposal mechanisms. And we finally partnered with Baidu, China's tech giant, to really develop a mobile application that connects the users with with retailers that practice safe disposal mechanisms, so that we are able to alleviate the problem that they're facing. We initially started with prototyping this app in just Beijing and Tianjin, and we've now scaled it up to other cities. Just in the first 6 weeks, we had more than 100,000 downloads for the application, and we have so far disposed about 12,000 units safely. We've now launched a second version of this application because we've gone back to the users, we've looked at feedback that they've given. We've now separated the interface for the user and retailer, and we've also got the government to develop specific training practices, especially for the informal sector, on how they can achieve safe disposal mechanisms. moving from China, the next country that we're looking at is the Maldives. Anyone who thinks of the Maldives thinks of a paradise island, a beautiful holiday destination. But that's not all it's about. It's about 1,000 islands, and citizens often struggle with being able to connect with their island councils. So what we did was we borrowed from Fix My Street in the UK. I'm sure many of you are aware of them. They're really a way for citizens to report to councils, local councils, on issues that they're facing with respect to municipal service delivery. So we borrowed from this idea. We reached out to the Fix My Street team, who were our pro bono partner, and we developed a similar application for the Maldives. This is called Make My Island. And the idea here was citizens are able to connect with their own island councils in many islands within the atoll to report various issues that they might be facing, whether it's soil erosion, floods, and so on. And the island council has the responsibility to, of course, report on this, take action on this. And both the reports are available online so that there's a sense of accountability that you're ensuring with governance, but you're also engaging citizens in the kind of reporting that they can do and being able to engage with local governments. Following the success of this, we're now scaled up to the capital city of Male. And the government has been fully on board in terms of how this is going to be developed. And we've also looked at how we might expand it to other issues such as antisocial behavior, etc. A few other examples very quickly. From Papua New Guinea, for anybody who knows, has struggles with corruption, high levels of corruption. So we developed a very simple SMS system, again, for citizen monitoring of corruption activities. We've had more than 1,000 cases registered within the Department of Finance. We've uncovered about 250 cases of these. 4 cases are in trial, and 2 of officials have already been arrested for mismanagement of over $2 million. In Bhutan, where youth unemployment is a huge issue, and we were really challenged with engaging with youth in a consistent manner, we partnered with a gaming lab to develop a game so that we can engage with youth through the game, understand what are the issues that they're facing with youth unemployment. And also, we've used their ideas in the game to run a social entrepreneur program where the government is sponsoring the top 3 ideas that emerge from the game. In Vietnam, for instance, we looked beyond the traditional community legal aid clinics, which are not always sustainable, and we partnered with universities where clearly law students needed a real exposure of their curriculum and how they might practice it, and communities needed that hands-on support. So we got universities, students to go to the communities, work with them, so that we're able to provide that legal aid, but we're also able to give law students the exposure that they need in working with communities. And finally, in Nepal, okay, there are many more examples, but in Nepal, this is a really interesting one because we wanted to work with youth as change agents to challenge gender stereotypes, because we believe that youth play an important role in being able to change the perspectives within their family, within their communities. So we developed a set of animation videos that really flip the gender roles that you traditionally see. So you have videos where, you know, the man has to cook for the family even when he's unwell, or the man is being teased on a bus by a woman. So we flipped the roles to see what the reactions would be. And it was really interesting because we had such amazing interactions with the kids in schools, because clearly this was something that was surreal to them because they have been so immersed in the stereotypes. And it helped break that barrier and make them understand what it is when we mean, when we're talking about gender stereotypes, and how can they bring changes within their families and their communities. Coming to the Philippines itself, the 2 examples here. One is the Peso Sense, which really looks at leveraging entrepreneurial capacity between Philippines abroad and Filipinos here, and looks at how you might market products online, but also how you might do smart payments, how you might monitor your smart remittances, and so on. This has been developed in partnership with the Commission of Filipinos Overseas, as well as Western Union. A second example is, of course, looking at how we might study the kind of climate and disaster risks that people are exposed to. And it's a really simple application in terms of a mobile application that connects to a database that helps us receive this information, which is geotagged, but also helps us in informing policy to improve on climate and disaster risk management. So this is just a quick snapshot of the different innovation concepts and processes that we have explored in a very short time. And we're continuing to build on it. We've had a number of different partners that we worked with. If you look at it, is there innovation agencies, gaming labs, universities, technology partners, and so on. And there's many more. This is just a sample. And it doesn't stop there. So one of the things we often look at is, okay, we might be good at specializing on an innovation in a particular context, but how do we encourage that transfer between countries? And traditionally, I mean, so far, knowledge transfer between countries has been very traditional, right? You'll have a study tour of government officials from one country to another to gain exposure on a particular product, and then what happens? So we decided to borrow from the Samsung iPhone model. We took the concept of reverse engineering and design thinking and applied it to the government officials, to the particular projects they wanted to study, and got them to get involved in the prototype, do the user research, and understand what user-centered thinking is to be able to transfer this knowledge. And this was one example between China and Bangladesh. I've been given a time warning, so I'm really racing through, I'm sorry. So this is just a quick overview of the trends we're looking at, just focused on innovation, which only goes to underline the importance that innovation can play in achieving that major change that we want to see, particularly when we're talking about wicked problems that continue to persist despite developments. We're also looking at a large number of governments establishing their own national level innovation strategies, councils, funds. And we're also looking at a number of social innovation labs that have come up in the region of late. In this region alone, there are 50 social innovation labs. Which is a great opportunity to leverage further partnerships and so on. So building on all of this, where are we now? We've had a very humble innovation journey, if I can say so. We're continuing to explore. We've got some immense partnerships going, and we're trying to do more with it. But that's just not all. We're also recognizing the fact that it's really the investment on innovation capacity that has sort of differentiated between governments who have really pioneered and led the way versus governments who are aspiring to get there. So we're now working with national and local level governments to look at how we might improve this innovation capacity, how we might build the necessary frameworks and space that is needed so that we can co-design and co-develop the next generation of services to address really the emerging problems that we're faced with. And I'll really stop here. By saying that our innovation work has really been about, the process, not just about the final technology or the product. It's being about engaging with the users, reiterating on the design, having those quick feedback loops, and really working in a manner that can help improve that exchange between innovation leaders and the aspiring countries in the region. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. I don't have a booth in the back, but I have my wheelchair, so you can come and find me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for just two questions. So one, and then can we have the questions first? Anyone else would like to ask? Okay, I guess you have the privilege.
Hi, my name is Arissa Ona, and I saw on your presentation that you were mentioning human-centered design, which is a really great, interesting topic. And so I was curious. How are you engaging your constituents that will be supposedly receiving help from these innovations? Because oftentimes, especially in a lot of conferences like this, we're always like, yeah, help the poor, but we fail to include them in the dialogue as we're supposed to be following with human-centered design. So how do you engage them to innovate, to get their feedback?
Right. Thank you. Should I? Okay, let me start with this one. That's a really great question. Thank you. It's also something that we had to internally reflect on. I'm happy to admit that very often, even as we develop products and services, we tend to forget about our beneficiaries. We consult with them after we've developed the solution, but not necessarily at the forefront of the design. And that's really what we've tried to change with our social innovation approach. So each of the examples I showed have really started with bringing the users into the conversation right at the start, and bringing the partners also we want to work with right at the start. And the design has been based on building empathy with them and also identifying what their ideas are, what their needs are, and what their assets are. What are we working with that they already have? So for instance, normally the way we would approach youth unemployment is to have many economists and experts in the room tell us about youth unemployment rather than bring the youth into the discussion. So that, I mean, that's just one example, but all of these examples have really, picked on the human-centered design aspect of it and really brought in the users right at the start of it, and we've co-designed all of these innovations with them. So they've very much been a part of it, and we've been reiterating on the design based on their feedback.
Thank you very much for joining us, Ramya. Let's give her a hand. So I'd like to just quickly introduce our second shared space panel. We have a wonderful panel right now in the afternoon. So first, we have Miles Delphin of Bike Scouts. He was the team captain for Team Speed Salomon Adventure Racing team and solo 24 mountain bike racer. Founder of Bike Scouts Philippines, an organization of volunteers who serve as bicycle messengers in places affected by severe weather and other natural disasters. And then we have Francisca Zimmer Santos. She's the co-founder and collaborator of Collab, a pioneer in co-working in the Philippines. And then we have Ona Caritos of Lente Task Force 2016, Tita De Villa of the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting. And then we have Joey De La Cruz. Joey De La Cruz is one of the co-founders and now the country director of the International Youth Council Philippines. And lastly, we have Father Xavier Alpasa of the Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan. So can I call our first speaker, Miles, to the stage? Everyone, let's give our speakers a hand.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Is it still morning? Anyway, good morning. My name is Miles Delphin. I'm the founder of Bike Scouts Philippines. Bike Scouts Philippines is a unique disaster response initiative in the sense that we focus on the human element of disasters. What we do basically is that we collect survivor and evacuee data in disaster areas. We deliver critical emergency supplies, and then we also collect personal messages from survivors and evacuees that we, in partnership with Rappler and Project Agos, we forward it to their friends and relatives around the Philippines and, of course, also around the world whenever possible. So we've come up with this idea because we realized that in places of disaster, but look for contact. And so that is now what we do. I can keep on talking about Bike Scouts Philippines, but because I have such a short time, and you can visit my booth and talk to me there if you want to. So I would rather, I'll show you a brief glimpse of what we do, and I hope you like it. Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Rappler, for inviting us to participate. My name is Francesca Zimmer Santos, and I'm the co-founder of CoLab, a co-working space that was founded in April 2011. We're a pioneer in the co-working industry here in the Philippines. We bring together it's a cross-sector space, so we bring together social businesses and commercial businesses together in this space. We engage them in collaboration. We help them to get to know each other better. My team facilitates the community engagement, and we try to harness the energy within the space for progressive productivity, basically. Please come and visit us at our pop-up co-working space here today. We've collaborated with Haima Design for some of the furniture in the space, so check them out. And Ashoka Foundation has co-curated some of the guests that we've invited to engage with all of you today. So come over, make an appointment. Our team will handle the introductions, and please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, CoLabPH. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Chessa. Would like to call Ona Caritos. Are you here? Next speaker. Oh, okay, she's here. She had a picture taken. Just a reminder, after this session ends, which will end soon, for those of you who are attending the afternoon talk and who have a ticket, you still need to line up to get your seat number later on. So you have an advantage because, as you can see outside, there are a lot of people waiting to get inside. So please do it after this talk. After the talk ends, please line up and get your tickets. You need a sticker?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, we'll show the videos later.
Okay, good morning. Ganda umaga. Good morning, Sir Edse, Brother Javi. Thank you to Rappler for giving me and Lente this opportunity to present our Bridging the Gap project for next year's elections. I'm Ona Caritos. I'm the Executive Director of Lente. Lente stands for Legal Network for Truthful Elections. We are a nationwide, non-partisan, volunteer network of lawyers, law students, paralegals, engaged to do election work. So yun po yung ibig sabihin ng Lente at yun ang ginagawa ng Lente. Kami po ay may booth dyan sa may tabi. Kami po yung maingay. Kami yung may mime dyan. So pasensya na po, lalo na sa organizers. If we're causing noise and Rufus dyan sa side namin of the exhibit. Okay. Let me start my presentation by asking this question. Paano po kayo bumoto in the last barangay election? Sino yung naglakad? Can you raise your hand if you just walk to the voting center where you voted? Okay. Sino yung nag-jeep? Okay. Sino yung nagsasakyan? Nag-drive? How many minutes? How many minutes did you travel for you to exercise your right to vote? Who wants to answer? How many minutes did you travel for you to exercise your right to vote? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? Okay. Let me show you how our Mangyan brothers and sisters in Occidental Mindoro travel. How long do they travel when they exercise their right to vote? I'm sorry the presentation is not that clear, pero dito sila nakatira sa point na to. Saan sila bumoboto? Doon sa point sa taas. They have to walk for 5 to 12 hours for them to exercise their right to vote. Gano'n ulit kayo katagal nag-travel para bumoto in the last barangay elections? 10, 15 minutes. And we have our Mangyan brothers and sisters walking for 5 to 12 hours for them to exercise their right to vote. Ano yung project namin na we hope to pilot in next year's elections? And we're actively talking with COMELEC with regards to this project. With regard to this project. Our project is, yung Bridging the Gap, is to locate this voting center near their communities. So we're proposing accessible voting centers or kung saan bumoboto for our Mangyan brothers and sisters in Occidental and Oriental Mindoro. So they do not need to walk for 5 to 12 hours para lang makaboto. Ano yung problem when they walk 5 to 12 hours? Nung nagpunta ba kayo sa voting center nyo, nakulong ba kayo? Hinaras ba kayo? Pinakain ba kayo ng 2-3 araw? That's the situation of the Mangyans in Oriental and Occidental Mindoro. Because they had to travel for 5 to 12 hours, they're most prone to threats, intimidation, and hakot. So when we bring the voting center near to their communities, nawawala yung problema ng hakot, pananakot, at yung pagboto nila ng hindi naayon sa kanilang gusto. So that's our little project in Occidental and Oriental Mindoro. Accessible voting centers for our Mangyan brothers and sisters in Oriental and Occidental Mindoro. Yun lang po yung presentation ng Lente. Thank you very much.
We'd like to call on Tita De Villa. Ambassador Tita De Villa.
Good morning. Hi, not loud enough. Good morning. Good morning again. You know, when I came in, I said, wow, these are all millennials. And when I come up here, it might be a generation divide. But then I thank Rappler. They are very good at demolishing divides. And elections must not have any divide. So we go now to our short presentation. Ganon? Ha? Balik ko. This is supposed to go, you know, rapping and singing.
Yeah, click send.
Huh? It's not? So anyway, to go back, they're supposed to do the rap for champ elections. We have some PPCRB people here. Could you please stand up, the PPCRB people? And could you tell the crowd what is champ? What is champ? Loud and clear. And that's what champ is. Clean, honest, accurate, meaningful, peaceful elections. What PPCRB has been promoting. PPCRB, better known po, kilala sa inyo na PPCRB, Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting. How old are we? 24 years. 24 years, October 1991 to October 2015, 24 anyos na po kami. In service of love of country, love of the Filipino people, especially the poor and the young ones who you are. And we have been in 28 electoral exercises as the COMELEC's accredited citizens arm. What do? We have a threefold mandate or platform. First is voters' education, and our innovation is one good vote. What does one good vote do? It has two features. One is yes to candidates with KKK. Karakter, mabait, kailangan. Kasi yung ugali, yun ang tumutulak. What pushes the action, the words of any person, even his or her thoughts. Kakayahan or competency must be magaling. Na-alter. Nagkaroon na naman ng glitch. Kakayahan must be magaling. Competency. Is he competent or is she competent? For the post she is he or she is aspiring for. Katapatan is integrity, kailangan uliran. Must be a model in katapatan. By the way, One Good Vote or OGV, you can download from Google Play or Apple Apps Store. Please do that now after this. And then the next one, this is how we should choose our candidates. Like the name of the country is Pilipinas. Pilipinas. You should choose your candidates. Piliin nyo yung mga babae dito, lalo na yung mga mothers. Pag namimili kayo ng isda, hindi ba you examine the fish? If it's fresh, you open the gills and so on to see that it's fresh and that it's good. So, pagpili ng kandidato, we must be as masigasig and very concerned that we get good candidates. And the next feature of One Good Vote is no to vote buying and vote selling. Huwag magpabulag sa pera kasi po panahon ng ibagsak ang bumibili ng boto at nagbebenta ng kanyang balota. The next is the second mandate of PPCRV is monitor the conduct of elections. Boto ko, dangal ko, ipagtatanggol ko. Kasi yung boto nyo po is what will create good governance or the opposite. And the third is to conduct the unofficial parallel count to make sure that whether counting electronic results or manual results, that we always kailangan binibilang ng wasto ang bawat boto. So, we invite you all, especially the millennials here who are very good at social media, make champ elections viral. Make One Good Vote viral with PPCRV for clean, honest, accurate, and meaningful elections 2016. And please volunteer during election time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Tita. Would like to call on Joey. Yes. You need this? No. Yeah. A little forward. A little forward, right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are you still alive? Mukhang nanghihina na po tayo dahil wala pa ng lunch. Sige po, bibilisan po natin. I am now here representing as a member of the youth sector. We campaign for Yes for SDGs towards meaningful youth civic engagement in government, society, and the United Nations. So, what are the challenges of young people? Basically, access of youth subsectors to basic social services because of our problems of socioeconomic realities of our country. And it is also multiplied and magnified whenever there are problems in this society. And how do young people being treated as secondary citizens? And also, representation of young people in policy making, decision making, monitoring and evaluation of policies and programs. These are aspects that some people do not think that young people can do. And token youth involvement. For example, in relief operations, you can just use the human resources of young people but not utilize their power in social media or creating a volunteer mechanism. Also, another challenge is that 2015, remember, is an era of regional and global changes. We are facing ASEAN integration towards an ASEAN community, and also we are also facing the changes in our global goals, the sustainable development goals. And there is also an intergenerational gap with the current leading generation and the millennials. So how do we solve this problem? So International Youth Council, together with our partners, and our media partner is Rappler then, created this program. The Yes for SDGs, the Youth Empowerment Summit for Sustainable Development Goals. It provided an opportunity for youth-led organizations to actually meet and talk to UN officials, government officials, CSO leaders, and other stakeholders in order for us to create a avenue for social change. So here are the conference snapshots. It was attended by representatives from the United Nations Population Fund, DFA. There's also a message from the UN Envoy on Youth. There are breakout sessions from ASSIST and ADB. And together with our former civil society partners and former government officials, we have discussed what would happen in our country's development and with the SDGs. So, at the end of the summit, we had a manifesto, the Manila Declaration, that created the SDG Youth National Convergence, a network of young people's initiative in order for us to create a movement towards a sustainable future. And with that, we also created a mechanism for these organizations to talk about SDGs and campaign on the issues of the SDGs. So moving forward, we're facing a new era and our perspectives must be regional and local in nature. And youth-adult partnerships must be the hallmark of this new era, because if we cannot bridge these gaps, these intergenerational and societal divides, we cannot create a better future, not for only this generation, but the generations to come. Thank you.
We talk about citizenship as a qualifying principle for the president. And yet, as we talk right now, hindi na pag-uusapan yung ekta-ektaryang lupain sa Kasiguran Aurora na tinatambakan ng APECO. Bakit tungkol sa personalidad ng eleksyon? Bakit hindi na napapakinggan ng mga tao? Kailan sila papakinggan? Kaya ang ginawa po namin, nagsusulat po kami ng voters education since time immemorial. Tinayo po ang Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan noong 1986 nung People Power. 30 taon na po kami. Over the years, napapansin po namin yung voters education na marami palang kulang. So we're evolving it. And we thought na aside from making it Socratic, drawing it out from the people instead of telling them what to do, para inisip namin, pwede bang magkwentuhan naman tayo? Mag-usap tayo. And more importantly, can we listen? So we thought of Kwentuhang Bayan because we have observed that people are very active in two instances. Kapag may bagyo, and you will notice the mga exhibits, no, marami pong tungkol sa bagyo, at kapag may eleksyon. Kaya lang, in between, kulang pa tayo. Kaya parang we'd like to encourage, can we go beyond elections and can we continue this conversation? Our greatest innovation is changing power dynamics. Kasi madalas, pinakikinggan lang natin yung kandidato kung anong gusto niya at namimili lang tayo. Baliktarin natin. Ask the people their issues, ask their agenda, ask them what they want, ask them about their issues, and then bring them to a platform and then ask the candidates to react. That's why in the presidential debate that we're organizing, we will be presenting the people's agenda first, then we ask the presidential to actually react to this agenda. Honestly, some presidentiables have already approached us also because we're not only crowdsourcing problems, we are effectively crowdsourcing solutions. Can we change power dynamics? Balik po natin sa mga tao, pakinggan natin sila. And we have 2 success stories, one fisher folk and one community in Quezon City. Sinabi nila yung gusto nila, nakinig yung mga kandidato. Ibalik natin ang kapangyarihan sa mga bumoboto. Magandang umaga po.
Thank you, Father Javi. Maraming salamat. Thank you, Ona, Attorney Ona, and Ambassador Tita De Villa, and all those, Joey, who spoke earlier. I'd just like to show the video that Weather Philippines wanted to show us today, and then we'll move to our last 2 speakers before we end this program. Thank you very much, Weather Philippines. And now, a word from one of our partners from Sprout. I'd like to introduce Patrick Gentry, the Managing Director of Sprout. He's an American-Canadian tech entrepreneur with 8 years' experience in the Silicon Valley startup scene. Patrick is now the Managing Director, as I said. When he founded it in 2014, Sprout specializes in business software designed specifically for the Philippine market. And I think he's here today to tell us how software can help us, not just in business, but also in, I think, many other forms and fields. So please welcome Patrick Gentry.
Hi, thanks for having me here today. So I just want to talk really quickly about a problem and a solution. So the problem is that doing business in the Philippines, bank last year number 95 in terms of the ease of doing business. I think we can change that. And my company has chosen to tackle HR and payroll, particularly for small to medium-sized businesses. In fact, we offer it free for businesses with less than 40 employees as part of our effort in this matter. Now, business people and businesses here routinely deal with 4 different government agencies: BIR, Pag-ibig, SSS, and PhilHealth. The requirements are quite complex and very time-consuming, and they don't need to be. Businesses here typically do execute these requirements manually, and that, as I mentioned, takes a lot of time and distracts HR from what's really important. Now, we've been able to automate a lot of the things to reduce the time and make everything run much more smoothly. But there's still some work to be done, particularly with reporting to the government. Now, the government has taken a lot of strides in the last few years and moved these systems online. So the government systems are online, our systems are online. All it takes is for them to talk. And that's what I'm proposing as the solution: 100% integration. Now, we're at a critical juncture right now in the Philippines. We can leapfrog these systems that developed countries are dealing with because they've been using software for 20 years. We can go directly from the manual processes that are used by many businesses today to this postmodern software that's really innovative and can really make a great change. It can really be the great equalizer, because it makes things incredibly cheap for small, medium, and medium-sized businesses, where they can leverage things that used to be reserved for McDonald's and Coca-Cola and large corporations like that. And why is this important? Because the Philippines is not alone. There are developing countries all over the world that have access to internet, have access to the latest technology, and we can be an example. The Philippines can show that government and private sector collaboration can lead to truly innovative solutions that raise the bar and raise our rank in terms of how we do business. It attracts foreign investment, it increases company compliance, and it's about social good for bringing up the bottom of the pyramid, and that's employee welfare. Now, this may seem like a small thing, but as a mentor of mine likes to say, if we could just improve 1% every day, we could do great things. Now, I'm just asking for 1%. I know somebody here has a great idea of how we can execute this and make it happen, so I'm proposing the problem and the solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. And of course, you can also check out Patrick. You'll be around in this area in the back, right? Okay, thank you, Patrick. And now this brings us to our final speaker, but no, not the smallest speaker by far. She's our CEO. I'd like to welcome Rappler CEO Maria Ressa.
thank you. First of all, for everyone in this room, you have to look to your right and look to your left, because you are sitting next to people who are doing something every day to make things better. That is why you are here. First, so thank you for caring, thank you for working, and here it is, the Sustainable Development Goals. And for the very first time, and this is my 29th or 30th year as a journalist, I actually feel we can do it. And a lot of it is because of what you've heard from everyone else today. You've heard them talk about their own individual efforts, but when you put it all together, the key element, you heard it from Sprout, the key element, mas matangkad ho ako kung ganito. The key element is technology. This is why I think we can leapfrog it, and I know everyone in this room is a partner. Thank you for letting us partner with you. Development, you know, development is not sexy, right? Everyone in this room also knows this. It is oftentimes difficult to get people to stop and think about the fact that development actually means their lives. And that's a constant challenge for every one of you in this room, and a challenge for us, because I will tell you a story on Aldub. By the way, the hashtag Aldub EB for Love is number 2 behind hashtag 2030 now. So I'm enjoying that at 12:20 p.m. So far, your work has also pushed that up. It doesn't mean that I'm against Aldub. It's captured Filipinos, but imagine if we can harness all of that to actually end poverty. The UN has set 15 years to end poverty, and I actually think we can do it. Every one of us in this room is taking one small step. When we collaborate together, we become far stronger and can spread that much wider. If Aldub can do 12 million, maybe we'll start this afternoon. We have 1,500 people. We've got both millennials. The millennials are fantastic. Thank you, 20-somethings. But the 40s and 50s and 60-somethings are also amazing. You need both. You really need both to move this world. So we've got hashtag 2030 now. We've got hashtag TheLeaderIwant. Please, let's imagine a better future, and help us help you get your work done. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you very much for being a part of this morning session. This ends our program for today. For those of you who would like to attend or are attending the afternoon session, to make it easier for you, please just stay in your seats. We're going to set up a registration area just for you guys and call you by row so that you can get your tickets or your seat tickets for this afternoon. So those of you who have stayed here and patiently sat down, just wait for your row to be called. We will have a few memorandum of understanding signings here while that takes place. I'd just like to thank representatives and our interpreters from the De La Salle College of St. Benilde who have been diligently interpreting for the deaf. It is also being live streamed on Rappler. So we're trying to be as inclusive as possible. Thank you very much, interpreters. Thank you very much. And also, thank you very much to our production team and to Resorts World Manila and our social media team and everyone here who has put this morning's program together. We'd like to invite all of you. There's some coffee and snacks for the morning ticket holders in the back next to the bar on the left. So please just show your ticket. If you, of course, would like to go out to get some food, that's fine. But we suggest you get your ticket first before you go out because it's a very long line outside. Okay? Thank you very much. Keep on tweeting, keep on texting, and check out the exhibit booths. I'd like to now call on, let's start with PACE first, yes. So today we're going to do 2 memorandum of agreement signings with Rappler and the Philippine Association of Communication Educators. Dito daw. I'd like to call Maria. Maria, are you still here? Yes. Our PACE partnership is between Rappler, MovePH, and PACE. PACE is an association of educators of all over the Philippines involved in communication. And today, they're represented by the president, Marco Polo. That's his real name, Professor Marco Polo. And we will be partnering together for our PH Vote campaign to train citizen journalists all over the Philippines, and also to help recruit volunteers for our 1 million volunteer campaign. So the agreement has actually already been signed. So let's give a big round of applause for PACE and Rappler. I understand PACE has a lot of representatives here today, more than 300. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Paulo. And now I'd like to go to our next MOU signing between Rappler and the Visayas State University, a very long-term partner of Rappler, represented by its president, Dr. Pacasmas, and officials of the Visayas State University. Again, this is a partnership to establish a community journalism hub in Visayas State University in Baybay City, Leyte. Baybay City. And this will train the community journalists in Region 7 and 8. We'd like to invite all the VSU faculty and students who have come all the way from VSU to be with us today. Thank you very much for traveling this far. Please join us here on the side. VSU has been a long-time partner of Rappler, inviting us to several of their events, their anniversaries, and we've really been we've not only enjoyed working with VSU, but it's really been inspiring to see these young students who are involved in training the next generation of farmers, of teachers, of computer scientists in the Visayas. I will join them. Okay, thank you very much, VSU. And that brings us to the close of our morning ceremonies. I'd like to call on a representative from the registration team